we're looking at a word problem here for systems. This is a bit of a thick one, so bear with me. And you can see right away we've got two lines that are crossing, and where they meet is going to be the solution to that system, and that's what we're going to be asked to find. And of course we can't really read it off the scale because we don't have set numbers here. So Pierre and Sophie each start putting money into a bank account at the same time, and Pierre starts by depositing $1,200, and then he regularly adds $45 a week, and Sophie starts with $300 and saves $75 a week. So we're going to figure out which line is whose, and the way I'm going to do that is by looking at those initial values. Right? Pierre starts, the initial value for Pierre is $1,200. That's the higher one. So right there, that line there starts higher is Pierre. It starts higher, but you can see although Sophie starts with less money, she eventually ends up with more than Pierre, and the reason is she saves more, right? She saves $75 per week, whereas Pierre's only saving $45 per week. We can see that much more clearly if we set up the two equations. So if we think about Pierre for a second, Pierre's going to have an amount of money, Y, will be equal to $45 for every week that goes by. So every week, as X goes from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5, we multiply that by 45 to get his savings. And then we always have to remember that he started out with $1,200, so we have to add. Whereas Sophie starts out with less, right? But she saves more. 75x, $75 per week with an initial $300. So even though Pierre starts out with $900 more, you're going to see eventually Sophie passes him. But there's one point, right, that we're asking about here. After a certain number of weeks, they will each have the same amount of savings. How much money will they each have at that point? So at some point, at some mystery number of weeks, they will have a tie in their money. And we want to know how much money is that. And you'll notice too, it's kind of cool, is after this week, this is the point where Sophie starts to pass Pierre, right? If you start looking at their Y's, if you look at the amount of their money over here on the Y-axis, as the X's are getting bigger, Sophie's now higher than Pierre, starting right there. But that's where they break even. That's where they're the same. So we're going to find it solving the system. We're going to take that, and we're going to make it equal to that, and we can do that because the Y's are already isolated based on the translation. So 45x plus 1,200, there's Pierre, will be equal to Sophie, 75x plus 300. I'm going to subtract 75x from both sides to get that over on the left-hand side. So I've got to go 45 minus 75 and get negative 30x plus 1,200 is equal to 300. I'm now going to subtract my 1,200 from both sides. I'm going to get negative 30x is equal to, I believe, negative 900. How do you do that? And then divide both sides by negative 30. So I have negative 900 divided by negative 30. It's going to give me positive 30. So it's at 30 weeks. After they've each been saving for 30 weeks, they'll have the same amount of money. Now, how much money is that? Well, I can plug that 30 into Pierre's number up here. Y is equal to 45 times 30 weeks plus that $1,200. And I'll go 30 times 45, or 45 times 30. Hit the equals. There's the savings, $1,350 plus 1,200 that he started with, and he's got $2,550. For Sophie, I can do the same thing, right? Y is equal to 75 times 30 plus 300. And let's see what happens when I do that for her. 75 times 30 is equal to that much savings plus 300. And there's your 2,550. So the point of intersection is 30, 25, 50, 2,550. The question says, how much money will they each have at that point? Well, there's the answer to the question. Make sure you answer the question, right? Don't say 30. That's the number of weeks, which is true. But that's like me asking you how old you are and you telling me your name. Like, you might have told me your name accurately, but you want to make sure you answer the question that you're asked. $2,550 is how much they both have.